So for this analysis, we are jumping straight into one of the most visible and, frankly, consequential developments on the front lines.
Right.
And that's the systematic, really high-volume use of Russia's guided FAB glide bombs. Now, on the surface, this looks like, a staggering technical success. It seems like a very efficient way to methodically dismantle Ukraine's military infrastructure, especially as we head into winter.
And that's the consensus view, and you can see why. I mean, we're looking at the UMPK module, which is it's a relatively simple kit.
Right.
And it converts these vast stockpiles of old Soviet-era dumb bombs into a genuine precision weapon. It's engineering pragmatism at its absolute finest.
Absolutely. And I think the core technical spark, the part that has everyone talking, is that this module lets the bombs glide, up to 50, sometimes even 70 kilometers.
70 kilometers, yeah. And that keeps the aircraft delivering them safely way out of reach of Ukraine's frontline air defenses.
So this combination of range and precision and just the raw explosive power against these fixed, hardened targets, it's undeniable.
Oh, it creates a tactical headache, for sure.
Yeah.
But our mission for this deep dive is to look past that impressive technical achievement and really analyze the profound strategic story they tell. Because if you only look at the innovation, you miss the deeper picture.
A picture of what?
Of resource warfare, of strategic constraints, and of a really sophisticated battlefield doctrine that this whole campaign reveals.
Yeah.
We kind of need to flip the narrative and ask, is this volume a sign of Russia's capability, or is it a symptom of its underlying necessity?
Okay, let's unpack that, because the volume is absolutely key here. I mean, sources are confirming dozens of these FABs being deployed every single day.
Every day.
Because they're cheap, they're available, and they're extremely effective at destroying things like command posts or, heavily protected depots. To a casual observer, this looks like the ultimate innovative optimization.
It does.
You're telling us we should see it differently.
We must. If we just celebrate this as some purely optimized technical leap, we completely overlook the strategic compromise that's driving it.
A compromise.
I would suggest that this massive deployment of cheap FAB glide bombs reveals a crucial underlying inventory constraint in Russia's supply of high-end precision munitions.
But wait, hold on a second. Isn't that a huge assumption?
It might seem that way at first, but...
I mean, if Russia has literally millions of these old FAB bomb casings just sitting around, why would they use them? Maybe this is just a perfect marriage of cost and capability, not some necessity driven by depletion.
Well, it's about the ability to sustain a certain operational tempo. The analysis really points to a calculated resource substitution.
A substitution?
Yes. They're using these FABs in a role that was previously reserved for their high-value long-range cruise missiles. We're talking specifically about the Calibri or the KH-101.
Okay.
And the reason that substitution matters is the trade-off in sophistication.
Explain that contrast for us. What makes something like a Calibre or a KH-101 the gold standard they're supposedly substituting for?
Well, those are just incredibly advanced, stealthy, complex weapons.
Yeah.
They often use things like terrain-following navigation. They have extremely low radar cross-sections, and they can conduct these deep surgical strikes into enemy territory with almost perfect accuracy.
So years of investment.
Years of investment. And they require components that are now severely restricted by sanctions. The glide bomb, on the other hand, fitted with a simple guidance kit. It's often reliant on non-military GPS or GLONASS. It just offers a fraction of that capability.
So the strategic trade-off is clear then. They're swapping a surgical, terrain-hugging cruise missile for just raw, massive, explosive volume.
Exactly.
It's brute force stepping in where that bespoke elegance just can't be sustained anymore.
Exactly. When you look at the documented and frankly infrequent use of those fancier missiles against tactical frontline targets, and you couple that with the immense, almost limitless availability of the old Soviet FAB casings,
the shift in doctrine becomes obvious.
It's highly revealing. They are trading accuracy and stealth for density and sheer destructive output.
And when you look at the raw destructive capacity they're deploying, the scale is just staggering, isn't it? We're not talking about small ordnance here.
Not at all.
The material highlights the FAB 500, the FAB 1500, and critically the FAB 2000. And the sources note the FAB 2000 is capable of leveling entire city blocks.
That is not surgical precision.
No. That is saturation, designed to guarantee the elimination of any hardened structure.
It is, quite literally, raw explosive mass compensating for the inability to sustain a continuous high-rate fire of smart, expensive, long-range guided inventory. And that reframes the entire operation. It's not just a new tactic, it's a strategic response to resource pressure.
Okay, so we've established the why they need volume because of a potential constraint. But now that we see the scale of this volume, how does Ukraine even begin to counter it? Let's turn to the sheer physics of the problem.
Right.
Because the material makes a really strong case for how difficult it is to physically intercept these things.
It's a nightmare. For air defense operators, it's a complete nightmare. These aren't missiles with hot engines.
No heat signature.
They lack an engine heat signature entirely. They're silent during their glide path, their arcs are semi-ballistic and unpredictable, and their overall radar cross-section is tiny compared to a bigger cruise missile.
Which means
even advanced systems, systems like the U.S.-provided Patriot, they struggle immensely to get a reliable, continuous lock on a cold, silent piece of metal gliding at high speed.
It just paints a picture of an insurmountable technical challenge for Kyiv's air defenses. It sounds like a guaranteed win for the attacker no matter what air defense they have.
It is guaranteed, in a way. But the true victory for Russia isn't in the destructive capacity of the blast. It's in the economics of the interception. If you only focus on the physics, you miss the grander, more insidious strategic play.
Which is?
Enforcing a ruinous economic exchange rate for Ukraine.
The economic asymmetry. So the problem isn't just physical difficulty, it's logistical and budgetary exhaustion.
Absolutely. Think about the calculus of cost attrition. Ukraine is forced, defensively, to fire an extremely expensive interceptor, something that costs potentially several $1 million.
Millions.
To shoot down a guided bomb that costs, maybe $20,000 to outfit with that UMPK module?
The economic ratio, as the source material lays it out, can be over 100 to 1.
Over 100 to 1.
That is just staggering. Russia wins the exchange even if the bomb is shot down, purely based on the budgetary burn rate.
That is the goal. This strategy is designed specifically to deplete Ukraine's limited and incredibly costly stock of high-end air defense interceptors.
The Patriots, the NASAMS.
Exactly. The ones used by Patriots are NASAMS. And this forces a terrible strategic dilemma onto Ukrainian commanders. Russia is compelling them to spend their operational gold reserves on saving essentially a silver-level asset.
Let's talk about that impossible position for a moment. They have to choose, right?
They do.
Do they commit these extremely expensive limited interceptors to protect static, hardened military targets, like the Konstantinovka ammunition depot or a forward command post? Knowing the replacement time for those missiles is measured in months or even years.
Or, and this is the critical choice, do they save those irreplaceable interceptors for the absolute essential strategic protection of population centers, of cities, of critical energy infrastructure?
So the constant, affordable threat of these high-volume FABs ensures Russia wins that economic war of attrition in the air.
It's a resource strain. It's designed to compromise Ukraine's long-term defense by forcing them into a resource deficit they just can't afford to maintain.
Using cheap bombs to bleed out an opponent's gold reserves.
Precisely. And this fundamentally changes how you have to view the air war. It becomes the resource depletion strategy playing out in real time, where the price tag is the deadliest weapon.
Which brings us to the final, and I think the most sophisticated strategic insight here. It's the unmistakable pattern of strikes observed over a focused 6-day period spanning late November into early December. Initially, a lot of analysts just dismissed this sequence.
They did. As just softening the ground.
Exactly, softening the ground or degrading local defenses ahead of some anticipated infantry movement, like near Julipol.
And describing these strikes as mere softening just dramatically understates the strategical. If we connect the dots and the timing from the source material, what we see is evidence of an advanced doctrine of battlefield paralysis, or targeted decapitation.
So not just destruction.
No. The weakness in that earlier analysis was failing to connect these geographically separate hits into a single cohesive strategy of synergistic failure.
So the goal isn't just localized destruction, it's the systemic erasure of combat functionality across an entire sector.
Creating a synchronized collapse of the whole defensive ecosystem. The timing is the real weapon here.
The timing.
The tight synchronicity is designed to make sure that the Ukrainian units in that area are simultaneously rendered deaf, blind, and starved of supply. They can't compensate for one failure because two others hit at the same time.
Let's walk the listener through that specific timeline because it really lays bare this doctrine of decapitation.
Okay, so we saw this deliberate sequential campaign unfold. On November 28th, you have the strike on the Vilcha UAV Control Center.
Okay, so that's the eyes. the intelligence.
Exactly, blinding the forward units. They can no longer see what's coming at them.
Then the very next day, November 29th, that massive detonation at the Konstantinopovka depot.
That's the ammo or supply. Thousands of rounds, fuel, supplies, just vaporized.
So the units are now blind and starved.
And then the finishing stroke. December 1st, the strike on the Greeno command post. And this instantly buried equipment and key personnel. That's the brain, the nerve center.
Command, control, and communication are eliminated.
Right at the moment when those units most desperately need to coordinate.
Eyes, ammo, brain, all neutralized in quick succession over 72 hours. The outcome is just absolute operational breakdown.
And that synchronized failure, it maximizes the immediate operational effect. It denies the defenders any chance to adapt, to reorganize their logistics, or to get current intelligence.
Which makes any follow-up ground attack significantly easier.
Way easier. The strategy goes way beyond simple attrition. It aims for a rapid, temporary, localized paralysis of the battlefield, executed efficiently, using their available low-cost assets.
This has really been a deep dive. We've moved well beyond the technical side of these glide bombs to the deeper military and economic goals they're executing. It's clear this is a comprehensive, sophisticated doctrine, not just some desperate tactic.
So to quickly recap the three key strategic insights for you, just from this material. First, the reliance on FABs suggests inventory constraint and a very pragmatic resource substitution for their high-end missiles.
Right.
Second, the air war is fundamentally driven by an asymmetric economic exchange, defined by that catastrophic 100-to-1 cost ratio. And third, the targeting pattern reflects a sophisticated doctrine of battlefield paralysis, systematically removing command, intelligence, and supply all at the same time.
So we've moved from the technical threat of the bomb itself to these profound questions of resource management under immense pressure.
And that is the question you should be exploring as this conflict continues. If Russia is relying so heavily on these cheaper bombs because of depletion of high-end missiles, what does that signal about the long-term sustainability of their operational tempo?
That's a great question.
They can afford to fire $20,000 bombs indefinitely, but can they afford the personnel, the aircraft, the risk? And maybe more importantly, can Ukraine possibly afford to spend millions of dollars to counter that constant grinding attrition, that budgetary reality that may determine the true long-term trajectory of the war?
A perfect place to leave it. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.